Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rachar Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostle, Great Millstone. And salutation, much love to y'all. Come out there pushing out his word in truth and sincerity. And pretty much we just want to go into, as you see the title of the video, the great multitude in Revelation chapter 7. Okay, because you got a lot of Christians that'll come with this and try to make a rebuttal, saying that that's heathens or the real Gentiles, and we're just gonna bring out precepts to prove otherwise and give the true understanding and the breakdowns. All right, so we'll go ahead and read that.
Start from the top.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Revelation chapter 7, verse 1. And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth.
Well, go to start at go start at 8. Let's start at 9. Yeah, just go straight to
okay. So Revelation chapter 7, verse 9. And it says here in parentheses, it says, vision of the Gentiles who are to be saved during the great tribulation.
Yeah, but that's not supposed to be in there though.
It says, after this I beheld, and lo...
Real quick, if I may add, anytime you see things in parentheses, those are things added, okay? Because if you go into the Hebrew or in the Greek, they're not going to be in there. There ain't going to be a translation.
Well, no, it's just like a little description of what you're getting ready to read.
Well, sometimes you have something in a particular verse. It might be parentheses, but then you go into the Hebrew or in the Greek, and it's not even there. Well, go ahead.
So it says, after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands.
Yeah, so this is the verse that the Christians like to use to say, see, all nations, all kindreds, all tongues. All right? But you have to get the understanding. You have to understand history so that you may understand that. Okay? Because it's not all nations as in all the other nations. Right? Because you got to remember, our people were scattered amongst all the nations. Okay? And I got a precept here. It's Deuteronomy 28, verse 64. And Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood or stone. All right, so we were scattered among all people, meaning all nations. And guess what? Different nations speak different tongues. All right, different nations consider themselves as different kindred. Okay, so that's why it said there's going to be a great multitude. All right, that's going to stand before Yahweh, the Lamb, before the Lamb. But what? They're Israelites, because beginning with the beginning of the chapter, Revelation 7, it talks about the 144,000. All right, 12,000 out of each tribe, and then it goes on to that great multitude, which is the rest of the 1/3. Okay, that's the rest. That fulfills the rest of the 1/3. All right. But if you don't know these precepts, you don't know the history of Israel and how we were scattered abroad, then you're not going to understand what the scripture's speaking about, man. Because of course we're going to come speaking different languages. Because if a so-called Negro is born in America, guess what? He's going to speak English. And if he was born in China, guess what? He's going to speak Chinese. He'd be considered a Chinese instead of an American. You got something?
Yeah, okay. This is Ezekiel chapter 36. I'm going to start real quick at verse 16. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their own way and by their doings. All right, because Israel went off. All right, Israel started following after these other gods, following after the gods of the heathens. All right?
Yep.
They started doing as the other nations, okay? So it says,
and by going after these other nations, what? They were becoming part of these other nations. All right, they were calling themselves Greeks. They were calling themselves Moabites. But ultimately, their lineage went back to the Israelites. Go ahead.
Exactly. It says, their way was before me as the uncleanness of a removed woman. Wherefore I poured my fury upon them for the blood that they had shed upon the land, and for their idols wherewith they had polluted it. And this is the point, verse 19. And I scattered them among the heathen, and they were dispersed through the countries. According to their way and according to their doings, I judged them.
Yeah, so the point being is that we were scattered among the nations, the heathens. Okay? We were scattered among all nations. That's why it said that a great multitude of different nations, all right, different tongues, different kindreds, because the Lord is going to gather us up from all those nations, man. He scattered us abroad all the nations so that he could gather us from all the nations, man. That's why you go into the book of Genesis and it said unto Abraham, you're going to be a father of many nations. Okay? Here's another precept is in the same book, Ezekiel 12 and 15. Ezekiel 12 and I'll start at 14. Ezekiel 12 and 14. And I will scatter toward every wind all that are about him to help him, and all his bands, and I will draw out so like in 15. Ezekiel 12 and 15. And they shall know that I am Yahweh, when I shall scatter them among the nations and disperse them in the countries.
Kind of. There's another precept that says, in the land of their captivity, there shall it be known.
Yeah, I got it. That's Hosea.
Kind of.
Yep.
Get that real quick because, and before you get that, read that again once you have it on deck.
This is Ezekiel. This is Ezekiel 12. Ezekiel 12 and 15. This is Ezekiel 12 and 15. It reads, and they shall know that I am Yahweh, when I shall scatter them among the nations and disperse them in the countries.
So they shall know that he is Yahweh when we are scattered onto the nations. All right, to the places that we went into to serve our captivity, to serve our judgment for following after these other gods. All right, so now we're going to get this quick precept because this goes to show you that we're waking up. The Lord has woken up his people to who they are in the land of their captivity. Okay.
Now this is Hosea 1 and 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea.
Mm-hmm. And that's that great multitude.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Which cannot be measured nor numbered. And then we're going to get a precept to prove what that great multitude is. It's coming up. It says, yet the children of Hosea 1 and 10. Yet the number.
Yeah, kind of read that part.
Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered, which cannot be measured nor numbered.
Kind of. Now, real quick, let me go back to this Revelation 7 and 9. It said, after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number.
Great multitude which no man could number, because we are as the sand of the sea.
Yep.
All right.
So
it's a great multitude.
Yeah, Lord willing, you get an understanding of who this multitude is.
Remember, it said great multitude. We started off with Revelation 7. It said, he saw a great multitude. Okay. It says, which cannot be measured nor numbered, and it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living power.
And why is it going to be said that? Because one, we're waking up to this truth. The Lord has chosen his men to wake up, to come into this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of who they are, who the true and holy power is. All right, and then when we get deliverance from the land of our captivity, then everybody else is going to be saying, surely those are the children of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Those are the Israelites.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So again, because a lot of people say, oh, well, those are the Gentiles. This and that, this, that, and the third. But what you like to understand is that we were scattered. All right, we were scattered. You have to understand secular. You can call it secular history. We call it biblical history, man. When it pursues onto the Israelite history, man. All right, because these are facts. All right, so this is Tobit 13:3. It says, confess him before the Gentiles, ye children of Israel, for he hath scattered us among them. So what? Of course our people are going to be being called Gentiles, because what? We were scattered among them. And through centuries and generation after generation, guess what? They were considered Gentiles because they didn't even know who they were. They were following the customs of the Gentiles. All right, they may have even looked like the Gentiles, whether it had been Esau, whether it was Moab, Ishmael, all right, Ham. Okay, that's why we have to preach the word amongst the Gentiles, because what? We were scattered amongst the Gentiles. Let me read that again. This is Tobit 13:3. Confess him before the Gentiles, ye children of Israel, for he hath scattered us among them. There declare his greatness and extol him before all living, for he is our Lord, and he is the power of our he is the power, our Father forever, and he will scourge us for our iniquities, and will have mercy again, and will gather us out of all nations among whom he hath scattered us. So like we read earlier, man, the reason the Lord scattered us is so he could gather us from those nations, man. That great multitude that's speaking from different nations, all right, different kindreds, different tongues, they were scattered amongst them, those other nations, so that they could be gathered from those nations, man. We just read it. Tobit 13:5. Okay? All right? You got something?
Kind of real quick, I just want to show a quick example, all right, of what the brother was talking about. This is a basketball player that was just drafted in this year's league, or this year's last draft for the NBA. His name is Rui Hachimura, all right, and he's an Ammonite, all right. Both his parents are Ammonites, but when you look at this man, let me pull up a picture of him real quick. All right, this is Jake, man. That's Jake.
Oh yeah,
straight from Japan. Barely speaks any English.
Different. Well, that goes back to different tongues.
There you
different
go.
People.
All right, straight from Japan, man. Rui Hachimura. All right. Hey, man, this is a clear example. That's a clear example of our people who were scattered, man. All right, like the brother said, whether it was Esau, whether it was Ammon, who were the so-called Japanese, man. Okay, and there's another example out there in Japan of an Israelite woman who wins every year the models. The model of Japan, you know?
Yep. You got that one chick playing tennis, claiming to be Japanese, but her father's Haitian, man.
Yep.
And they were, you know, she represents Japan, but hey, she's an Israelite. Okay?
I got that second Ezra.
Kind of, go ahead.
This is second Ezra chapter 3, verse.
And this is, now we're going to get into that great multitude. As if we've already been getting into it, but it's going to be made much clearer now. All right. Well, let me go back real quick before you read that. Let me go back to Revelation chapter 7. All right. Let's reiterate that great multitude. It says, Revelation 7:9. After this, I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations. We've already proved why they the nations, right? Because we've been scattered among all nations. And kindreds, meaning same thing pretty much, and people and tongues, meaning different languages, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. Meaning it's going to be the rest of the 1/3, man. That's going to come up out of all these nations, man. And even parts of the elect is going to come out of different nations, man. You got brothers out there right now. They're coming out of different nations, not specifically out of so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. Go ahead.
I'm gonna start at 10. The points in 16. I'm just gonna read through. Second Ezra chapter 3, verse 10. Salakia. And it came to pass in every of them that as death was to Adam, so was the flood to these. Nevertheless, one of them thou leftest, namely Noah, with his household, of whom came all righteous men. And it happened that when they that dwelt upon the earth began to multiply, and had gotten them many children, and were a great people, they began again to be more ungodly than the first. Verse 13. Now when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them, whose name was Abraham.
Abraham. So, hey, the promise goes back to Abraham. The promise, and then through the promise, what? Abraham got circumcised, all right, which was the token of the law, so to say. And then what? It was given unto Isaac. It goes from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Exactly, because out of all these people that were upon the earth, the Lord chose one man. And that right there cuts everything that Christianity preaches.
Yeah, and they'll say, well, the scriptures say he's the father of many nations. Did all the nations come out of Abraham? They did not. It's talking about the elect, or the nation of Israel, because the nation of Israel in itself has different nations in it, man. Each tribe is a nation in itself. Yep. That's because what? We are just the sand of the sea, man. Yep. Go ahead.
Said in verse 13, whose name was Abraham. Verse 14, him thou lovest, and unto him only thou showest thy will.
Only, all right? You had many people on the planet at that time. And guess what? Only to Abraham was that will showed to. Go ahead.
Verse 15, and madest an everlasting covenant with him.
Everlasting covenant, meaning it wasn't going to be null, all right? It wasn't going to be done away with. The covenant was through Abraham and unto that chosen seed, not as many, but as of one. Go ahead.
Promising him that thou wouldest never forsake his seed.
Woo! Never forsake his seed. Not as, I can say it again, not as many, but as one. And that's in the New Testament. Not as many seeds, but as of one. Because it went through one child. All right? Abraham had a total of 8 children. It went to one Isaac. Yep. And then from Isaac, it went to one Jacob. Go ahead.
Verse 16, and unto him thou gavest Isaac. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Abraham had 8 sons.
8 sons.
Okay, so it said unto his, in verse 15, it said, promising him that thou wouldest never forsake his seed. But Abraham, remember, Abraham had 8 sons. Now it's going to tell you the son that it was chosen. Verse 16, and unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac also thou gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau. Going to show you that Jacob didn't rob Esau. He didn't steal the birthright from Esau, man. It was ordained. Exactly. It was ordained of the Heavenly Father, man. For you people out there that like to say, oh well, Jacob he stole it from Esau. No, he did, man. All right, the Lord put the spirit onto Jacob to supplant him.
And Esau gave it away.
And Esau gave it away. But it was already ordained for that to happen, for the Lord to choose Jacob, man. All right. And just a quick side note, before Abraham, all right, because Abraham goes back to Shem, there was Japheth and Ham, which they're not spoken about here. Mm-hmm. Those are other nations. What about them? Yeah. All right.
That's where the rest of the nations come from, man.
Yep. It said,
and even go ahead. Yeah.
It says, unto Isaac also thou gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau. And so Jacob became a great multitude.
Woo! Did we not read in Revelation 7 about the great multitude, man? Now it's becoming more and more clearer. All right, who that great multitude is.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to Baruch chapter 2, verse 29. If ye will not hear my voice, surely this very great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations where I will scatter them. So what, that great nation, when Jacob became a great nation, as the sand of the sea, they multiplied. It was, doing all the kinds of fuckings, and they became a great nation. Even to this day, what? They became small because what? We're scattered among all nations now. And that's why they try to say, oh, we're a minority, because they categorize us. We're not considered one people anymore. All right, we're scattered among all the nations. All right, and even among them that predominantly call themselves Israelites, Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, we're still separate in that, man. Unless you in this truth, But what? We became a great multitude. Let me read it again. It said. Baruch 2:29, if ye will not hear my voice, surely this very great multitude, we just read how Jacob became a very great multitude. So we know who it's talking about. A very great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations where I will scatter them. Again, we were scattered among all nations, all people, all kindreds, all tongues. Okay? That was it on that. You got Baruch. What you got?
Second Ezra chapter 2, verse 29.
No, that's what I just read, Baruch. I got Baruch 3 and 8. Grab that Deuteronomy 4. This is Baruch 3 and 8. It says, "Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity," which is clear and evident. We are yet this day in our captivity. The Israelites are yet this day in our captivity. All right. Yeah, you want to go to America? You want to leave America? You got to get a passport. You got to go to the so-called white men, all right, our oppressors. You want to do anything. You want to put a fence up. You got to go to your oppressor, man. You want to make a pool. You got to go to your oppressor. All right. It says, "Where thou hast scattered us." Let me read it again. It says, "Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity." It don't matter if you're in America, China, Pakistan, Chile, UK. "Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us, for a reproach and a curse," which we read in Deuteronomy 28, verse 64. "For a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments, according to all iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power." All right.
It said subject unto payments according to what again?
According to all the iniquities of our fathers.
All the iniquities of our fathers. So the things that we had to endure in our land of our captivity, those are things that we had to pay back, that we had to pay for. All right, like brothers like to use the analogy of picking up the tab. All right, the iniquities that our forefathers, because what? Isaiah 14:21 was originally speaking about the Israelites. But we know what Deuteronomy 30:7 says. Okay? But it said, "Prepare slaughter for their children for the iniquity of their fathers." Isaiah 14:21. So that slaughter, the atrocities that happened unto the Israelites was those payments. Okay? So to speak.
And now, if you haven't understood who that great multitude is yet, then you're through. But now we're gonna make it even more clearer if it hasn't been made clear already. Go ahead.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 4, and I'm gonna start a little bit above the verse you got there. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5. It says, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh my power commanded me, that ye shall do so in the land whither ye go to possess it."
What verse you got?
That was 5, now 6.
I want 27.
Oh, 27.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, alright.
I mean, if you got something there, bring it out.
They're
27.
It says, verse 6, "Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people."
Great nation. Right.
Hey, and that's what's going to be said when we receive the law, statutes, and commandments within us, man. The other nations are going to look at us and be like, man, this is truly a great nation, man. Look at them. Okay? So now jumping down to verse 27, it says, "And Yahweh shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord Yahweh shall lead you."
Yeah, we just read in Baruch that the great multitude, all right, is going to be made small because we're going to be scattered among all the nations, man, all the heathen. All right, we read in Tobit 13 talking about preach the word unto all the Gentiles because we've been scattered abroad unto them. Okay, read it again, Bible Shop.
"And Yahweh," Deuteronomy 4:27, "shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither Yahweh shall lead you."
Yeah, so we're considered few among the heathen because you got some Israelites here, you got Israelites in every nation, man. You got Israelites in every place. All right, among strangers, the actual Gentiles. You got our people amongst the actual Gentiles, man. And so, but what we ask the sand of the sea, and they don't even know they're Israelites. So we're small. We went from a great multitude to small, because most of our people don't even know they're Israelites, man. The majority of our people don't know. That was it on that? God, this is but now we read that again, Baba Shah. Lead it up.
Deuteronomy 4:27, and Yahweh shall scatter ye among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither Yahweh shall lead you.
Yep. Now this is Deuteronomy 30:3. Then Yahweh thy power will turn thy captivity, and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations which and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither Yahweh thy power hath scattered thee. So all those nations he scattered us and made us small upon, all right? Made us small upon all those nations. He's going to gather us from all those nations. Man, how many precepts we got to bring out to prove that? All right? From where he scattered us to, man. The Lord is going to do that. He's going to redeem us. All right, so now you're understanding that great multitude in Revelation chapter 7 about all the nation, a great multitude from all nations, kindreds, people, and tongues. It's because we're all scattered among all them. And the Lord's going to pick them out from them nations, man. All right, he's going to separate the wheat from the chaff. All right? He's going to separate the good from the bad, the sheep from the goat. And we understand that mainly talk about Esau, the goat, okay, the chaff. But what? That's we're not just in Esau's nations. We're not mixed among Esau. We're mixed among all nations. Okay? And this is going to happen in these last days, and it's happening as we speak. All right? You got Zephaniah?
Okay.
Yeah.
Zephaniah chapter 2 verse 10.
Yep.
This is Zephaniah chapter 2 verse 10. This shall they have for their pride, because they have reproached and magnified themselves.
2:10? Where you at? 2:10?
Zephaniah.
Okay.
2:10.
No, okay, yeah.
Okay. This shall they have for their pride, because they have reproached and magnified themselves against the people of Yahweh of hosts. Yahweh will be terrible unto them.
Nah. Zechariah, not Zephaniah. Yeah, Zechariah.
The book of Zechariah, chapter 2 and verse 10.
You can start at 11 actually. Just read.
Okay.
Well, start at 10. Yeah, start at 10.
Zechariah 2 and 10. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for lo, I come and I will dwell in the midst of thee, saith Yahweh.
Alright, so remember it said the daughter of Zion, which we understand to be Israel. Alright, Zion meaning monument. What's the word? To Zion. Okay, go ahead.
And many nations, verse 11, shall be joined to Yahweh in that day.
Woo! Many nations shall be joined to Yahweh in that day. They're not in Revelation 7 it talked about those nations, the great multitude coming out of those different nations, different kindred, different people, different tongues.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And shall be my people.
It shall be my people. Who's the Lord's people? We read it in Hosea 1. All right, we read it in Hosea 1 and 10. Go ahead. You got it? You got something?
Yeah, I got something real quick.
Yeah, you got
this
something
is
too.
Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy power. The Lord thy power hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself.
A special people unto themselves. So the Lord's people, his special people, is the Israelites. All right? We'll jump to the beginning of that chapter to prove it.
Deuteronomy 7 and 1. When the Lord thy power shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hast cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgashites.
Oh, so like Deuteronomy 1 and 1. That's
Okay.
what I meant. So like, yeah.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1. And it reads, These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel.
There you go. That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point. The words that were spoken unto Israel, and guess what? That same book was spoken unto Israel. The 7th chapter, the 6th chapter, the 8th chapter, the 28th chapter, the 38th chapter, all the chapters of Deuteronomy. Okay. The matter of fact, the whole Bible was written unto Israelites. If you didn't know.
So Deuteronomy 7 and 6. For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy power. Yahweh thy power hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. All right. Let me read this again in Zechariah chapter 2, verse 10, or Salakia, verse 11. And many nations shall be joined to the Lord in that day, and shall be my people. We read in Deuteronomy who the Lord's people are, the Israelites, and He chose them above all people. So we know that it says, because even though it says that many nations shall be joined to the Yahweh in that day, we know that the many nations is going to be Israelites, because they were scattered there, man.
Coming up out of those nations, there's different captivities.
Yep.
I got a quick precept going back to Baruch chapter 2, verse 30, where we left off. It says, "For I knew that they would not hear me, but because it is a stiff-necked people."
Talking about Israel, and you can read that in Ezekiel chapter 3.
Yep.
Okay.
And what Hosea 1 and 10 we read, man. In the land of their captivity. Okay. It said, this is for Baruch 2 and 30. "For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves, and shall know that I am the Lord their power. For I give them an heart and ears to hear. And they shall praise me in the land of their captivity, and think upon my name, and return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds. For they shall remember the way of their fathers which is before the Lord." So who's that talking about? The Israelites. It ain't talking about nobody else. Who else's fathers committed sin against the Lord, man? Who else's fathers, what's say?
Who else was following the Lord's ways?
Yeah, who else was given the Lord's ways? How about that? Yep.
So going back to the Zechariah chapter 2, verse 11, it says, "And many nations shall be joined to the Lord in that day, and shall be my people." And real quick, a point I want to make: the scriptures say the Lord changes, all right, or it changes not. Salakia. The scriptures say the Lord changes not. So going back to that Deuteronomy 7 and 6, that was in the old. That was in the beginning of the scriptures. That was the second book of Moses. All right, the second Deuteronomy means the second book of the law.
Yeah.
All right, that was the second book of the law. I believe that's the third book, or the fourth book of Moses. Because you got Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy. Either way, it was one of the books of Moses. All right, and it was Deuteronomy is the second book of the law. But nonetheless, that was way before Zechariah was written. All right, and when you read Revelation chapter 7, again, remember the Lord changes not.
That was the fifth. It was the fifth book. Numbers was before it.
It's a lot.
But it's the 5 books of Moses.
Yeah. So the Lord changes not, man. So going in now to that Revelation, you have an understanding of who that great multitude was in that verse 9, because the Lord chose His people, Israel, above all other people, and the brother has brought out multiple precepts to show you who that great multitude was from amongst the nations, man.
Yep.
Okay? So let me finish this precept. "I will dwell in the midst of thee, and thou shalt know that Yahweh of hosts hath sent me unto thee."
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah, that's the point, though.
There you go.
That those people that are going to be drawn to the Lord, that's that great multitude, man. But what? They're Israelites. All right. Here we go. All right. This is we'll close out on this. Let me see where I can start. Let me start at Revelation 5 and 4. The point is at 9. It says, "And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book, and to loose the 7 seals thereof." Meaning it's given the understanding. All right, men were able to get the understanding now. It's verse 6, "And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb, as it had been slain," which is Yahushua, "having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of the Most High, sent forth into all the earth. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps, and and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. Here's the point. And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof. For thou wast slain and hast redeemed us, keyword us, to the Most High by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. That's it.
Self-explanatory, man.
Who's that us? Who did the Lord die for? We can get that real quick. Matthew 1. Yeah, I'll get Luke.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 21. And it reads, And she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Yahushai, for he shall save his people from their sins.
Yeah, so he gonna save his people, the Israelites, from the saints. We just read that he was. Let me go back to Revelation 5, just in case somebody tuned out. Revelation 5 and Revelation 5 and 9. Or I'll go back up. It says Revelation 5 and 5. And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, which everybody knows that's the Messiah, Yahushua. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. So what? The tribe of Judah. Hebrews, what is that? 7 tells you our Lord sprang out of the loins of Judah. Okay. All right. Let me go to get that in Acts where it says where he was hung, slew on a tree. You know what I'm talking about? All right. This is Luke chapter 1 and verse we got a couple verses. Okay, Luke 1 and 76. And thou child shall be called the prophet of the highest, for thou shalt go before the face of the Lord to prepare his ways, to give knowledge of salvation unto his people by the remission of their sins, through the tender mercy of our power, whereby the day spring from on high hath visited us, to give light to them that sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace. And the child grew and waxed strong in spirit, and was in the deserts till the day of his showing unto Israel. All right, there you go. He was for the nation of Israel, man. No ifs, ands, but about it, man. Well, let me jump up to verse 67. And his father Zacharias was filled with the Holy Ghost. So Zacharias was the father of John the Baptist, and prophesied, saying, Blessed be the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, and hath raised up an horn of salvation for us. Us again. Let me read it again. I'm gonna read it slowly for you simpletons. Verse 68, Luke 1 and 68. Blessed be the Lord, power of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people. It just said power of Israel. Verse 69, and hath raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. Go ahead.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 5, verse 30. The power of our fathers raised up Yahushai, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree. Him hath the Most High exalted with his right hand to be a prince and a savior, for to give repentance to Israel and forgiveness of sins.
Yeah, so that great multitude, all right, all those, the ones that were scattered, that were being brought back, guess where they from? From the nation of Israel, man. Because that's what needs salvation. That's what needs redemption. Okay? Forgiveness of sin. Us. All right? Us. Not you. Not everyone. Us. Okay? That was it on that? Fine. So, you got anything else?
No, that's it.
Get Acts 4 and 12.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 4. Okay. In verse 12 it says, I'll start at 11. I'll start at 10. This is Acts chapter 4, verse 10. Be it known unto you all.
Be it known unto you all. Okay?
And to all the people of Israel, that by the name of Yahushua HaMashiach of Nazareth, whom ye crucified, whom the Most High raised from the dead, even by him doth this man stand here before you whole. Verse 11. This is the stone which was set at naught of you builders, which has become the head of the corner. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men, whereby we must be saved.
Read the next verse.
Now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John, and perceived that they were unlearned and ignorant men.
That's 4? Should have been, let me see, slap. But, that was a perfect point, but there was something I was looking for. I thought it was Acts 4. Let me see here. That's not it. Maybe it's not. It's a different chapter then. What was it? Acts, Demon Israel. Oh, okay, so it's Acts chapter 2 and 21. I get it. It says, and it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call, which we'll read that again because it's pretty much going on the same thing. Go ahead if you get it.
Acts chapter 4, verse 12. Yeah. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved.
This is Acts chapter 2. Yeah, Acts chapter 2, verse 21. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Ye men of Israel, hear these words. Yahushua of Nazareth, a man approved to the Most High among you by miracles, wonders, and signs, which the Most High did by him in the midst of you, as ye yourselves also know. All right. So that again, this is for the Israelites, man. That great multitude that was scattered abroad. This is all for the Israelites, man. All right, Genesis to Revelation is all for the Israelites. And then we'll close out on this last verse here. All right, here we go. This is Joel chapter 2, verse 32. It says, and it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord Yahweh shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as Yahweh has said, in the remnant whom Yahweh shall call. How can you get around that? It said deliverance is going to be on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem. So who is that great multitude speaking about in Revelation chapter 7? Where the elect, the 144,000, Lord's chosen, his prophets, his servants is going to be delivered. Because Revelation 7 tells you about the servants. Those 144,000 are servants, okay? If they're going to be saved, they're going to receive salvation, and then the great multitude is going to receive salvation with them. Then by default, Joel 2 and 32 tells you where that salvation is coming to. Let me read it again. Joel 2 and 32. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of Yahweh shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as Yahweh has said, and in the remnant whom Yahweh shall call.
Read real quick verse 27 in that same chapter. Joel.
Yeah. This is Joel chapter 2 verse 27. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am Yahweh your power, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed.
And none else, man. None else. It shall be known that the Lord, what did it say? The Lord,
it said, and you shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am Yahweh your power, and none else.
I am in the midst of Israel. It's going to be known that the Lord is only dealing with Israel and no one else. Okay?
Yeah, when in Revelation, 20:22, or let me see, 20:21, it says, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from the Most High out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. So It didn't say nothing about anybody else. It said New Jerusalem, man. Jerusalem ain't everybody on the planet. All right? God never loved the world, man. God despised the world. He was ready to destroy this whole place, man. All right? He did before, except for one faithful man and his family, man. So it's clear and evident who that great multitude is in Revelation chapter 7. Israelites. All right? No matter what nation, what people, what tongues, what kindred they coming from, they are Israelites, man. Their line goes back to the Israelites, man.
And it's going to be known in these last days, man. It's going to be known, it's going to be truly known who the Israelites are in that day, man, because it's going to be a gathering of different people, like we was reading in Revelation chapter 7. People are going to be bugged the hell out seeing people who look like so-called Chinese men, people who look like so-called Japanese, so-called white men, so-called Hamites, so-called Arabs,
Punjabis,
so-called East Indians, yep. All these different Japanese Israelites that were scattered to these other nations, they're going to be
gathered again.
We read. Yep. They're going to be delivered, and people are going to be like, wait a minute, I thought it was only a black thing. I thought this was a black Latino. I thought they said it was the so-called blacks, the Latinos, and Native Americans. Our people were scattered to the four corners of the earth, man. That's what you Israelites need to understand. Just because you don't have the pseudo-typical Israelite man, so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American, doesn't mean that they're not an Israelite, man. All right? Because what Christianity teaches is that, this is talking about everybody. That Revelation chapter 7, this is talking about everyone in the rest of the earth. No, it's not. It's not talking about everyone. It's only talking about the Israelites. Those that were gathered of all nations and tongues, man.
Yep. And on the flip side, man, a lot of you people that look like Israelites ain't really Israelites, man. How about that?
Yep.
That's why the Lord gonna come separate the chaff from the wheat.
Yep, exactly.
So you got anything else? Or you good? All right. So with that, we want to give all praise, glory to Him, honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rachak Kodash. Belongs to the elder apostle, great millstone, citation, and much love, Yuakim, pushing out His word, truth, sincerity. Shalom.
Shalom.
Stay strong.